Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 meeting of the Municipal Airport Authority. Everybody on the call, if you'd please mute your phones while not speaking, we would appreciate it. Everybody in the audience, if you do need to speak, please come up to the front and speak clearly when you are asked. Item number 1, approve minutes of the regular meeting, October 11th. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as posted.
Can I get a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? None. Roll call.
Lind.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Aye. Capitan.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Moving on to number 2, approve airport vouchers totaling $204,014. Motion. Motion.
Approved. I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers.
Motion and a second, please.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? None. Roll call.
Lind.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Aye. Capitan.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Item number 3, approve individual vouchers A through G. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Discussion. None. Roll call.
Lind.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Moving on to item number 4, receive update from Fargo Air Traffic Control.
All right. Casey Lindquist is here. They were featured in our quarterly newsletter, but I thought it would be time maybe for the board members to get an update on what's going on at the tower, and Casey's the man to do it.
All right, thank you, Sean, for having me. Yeah, I just wanted to update the board and everybody that follows the airport. Fargo Tower just recently upgraded to level 7. What that indicates is just an indicator of our traffic, and that's just a metric that measures types of aircraft, military, GA, air carrier, how many aircraft, different variables go into that. But I just want to thank Sean for pushing cargo operations here. It's great working extra aircraft. I want to thank Darren and the grounds crew, Andrew, for taking over when Henry retired. He's been amazing. I want to give big thanks to him. And I just want to thank the board for having me. And if you have anyone interested in aviation, please tell them to look at USA Jobs. We're definitely in need for people. It takes about 1.5 years to train through Fargo. So we'd like to keep up the staffing. And now that we have our level 7, it's a little more appealing to be here in Fargo. So, and just for comparison, Sioux Falls, they're level 6 to level 5. Again, that's a metric of military, air cargo, air carrier. Never touching those. So in our Fargo, we currently average about 500 a day operations. So, but again, this is in your soft copy and hard copy for the audience. So again, thank you, Sean. Thank you for the board. Thank you. Supporting Fargo Tower.
How many openings do you have right now?
As of right now, we're currently short of one body, and we'll be short of another one. We have mandatory retirement here this November. So at 56, we're mandatory retirement. So we're always in need.
Yeah. So is there still any talk of changing the airspace to something different, Class B?
No, that's since I'm onboarded as manager, put that to rest. We've been focusing on this upgrade, focusing on staffing. So we'll be at Tersa for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Awesome.
Any other questions? Thank you again for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
support.
Best operation around.
All right, let's move on to number 5, receive proposal from Mead and Hunt for services 49 CFR.
Just one other comment on the tower. I think we're still one of 2 commercial service airports in the country that handle military RPA. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Syracuse and Fargo. So the military MQ-9 Reaper that's here, Fargo and Syracuse are the only 2 that do that. So kind of neat to have. Okay, on the Mead and Hunt. So this is to update our 49 CFR Part 23 for Airport Concession DBE program. Mead and Hunt has helped us with this for a while. So what they need to do is put together our goals for 2023, 24, and 25. And then they'll also assist with the report, if you will, the accomplishments for fiscal year 2022, which started October 1st of last year through September 30th of this year here. So $21,198. And Brian Page is our contact at Mead and Hunt, and they do a great job assisting with this process.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the services for Mead and Hunt.
Can I get a second?
I second. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I second.
We have a motion, second. Any discussion? None. Roll call.
Lind.
Aye.
Cosgrove. Capitan.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Engen.
Moving on to number 6, authorize attendance at the International Council of Air Shows.
Be a small group of us heading out to the air show. I did sign an application for an air show for summer of 2024, and they will make that announcement at this show in December. And like I say, a small group of us will be going out there to stay current in the air show requirements.
Motion.
I so move.
Second.
Second.
Discussion. None? Roll call.
Lind.
Aye.
Cosgrove.
Aye.
Capitan.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Move to number 7, receive report from Mead and Hunt regarding glycol treatment.
So Jeff is here. This was in your packet. This finalizes their analysis of the alternative to treat the de-icing runoff, especially from the cargo apron. And I don't know, Jeff, if there's anything that you want to add, or if the board members have anything. We did have a number of conversations with the City of Fargo Wastewater Treatment Plant. Jim Hausauer and his crew, they were great to work with, and their engineering firm. So I think we have a plan going forward from that. But Jeff,
Right. So just to give you a little history, because it's been a while. So back in 20 and 21, we built the cargo apron for UPS. And as part of that project, we built this 200,000 gallon below grade storage tank to collect all the runoff from FedEx's apron as well as UPS's apron. And at the time, and as it still sits today, there was no plan to treat it as part of that project. That's what this project is for. So right now it sits in that tank. So what we put this report together was to analyze different alternatives to dispose of it. So one alternative was to pump it out of the tank and truck it off site to some treatment facility. Another option was to do retreatment on site, which basically reduces the BOD before it goes to the city lagoons. And then the preferred alternative was to send it to the lagoons with the force main, and then it just be treated in the lagoons at the wastewater treatment plant. So I think, let's see, just a few high points on that. The surcharges that the city would charge the airport authority for the waste going to the lagoons would be 4.5 cents per pound of BOD, 5 cents per pound of total suspended solids, and then the flow rate of $2.20 per 1,000 gallons. And all of that can be electronically monitored on site here, depending on what concentration of the fluid is in the tank. And what the next step is to actually design the connection of the force main to the lift station that's there today, and then whatever infrastructure is needed for the monitoring system, and then the discharge point into the lagoon. So any questions on that, I guess? I know that's a lot of information to throw at you.
Page 17 had the summary of cost for the different options that they looked at. And,
Correct. So I can run through that with you here. So the preferred option, there was option 1. There was actually a sub-option there. One is just to do the sampling of the de-icing fluid manually, which is less than a deal when you're short-staffed or other emergencies come up and you can't get to it and it needs to be done daily. You can see the capital and annual operating costs there. Option 1B, which is the preferred option, with the electronic monitoring system, still a force main going to the lagoons. Slightly more upfront capital costs, but significantly about $100,000 less than annual operating costs, and that is strictly because of the labor, the minimum amount of labor needed with the electronic monitoring system. And then, of course, pre-treatment on site, is very, very expensive, just cost prohibitive. And then the annual operating cost is nearly $1 million too. And then just option 3 there, very small capital costs, but again, the annual operating cost just to truck it off site is, trucking costs these days are so expensive. People contractors can't even find truck drivers. So, again, the preferred option there is 1B. So,
And that's a pipeline there with the electronic monitoring, and it's all automated.
correct. Yep. It's about, I want to say it's 10,000 feet of force main from the west side of UPS's apron all the way up to the sewage lagoons. So, and the majority of that run is on airport-owned property. So the good news is obviously we don't have to reach out to landowners and get easements for that main. There might be a small chunk right as the connection points into the lagoons, but I think that's manageable with the cities.
What are they currently doing?
Just sits there.
It's just sitting in the tank. So.
Okay.
Is it tested periodically while it sits in stasis there?
Darren was sampling it last spring to get concentrations to put this into the report. So.
So you gotta take a sample and then you gotta ship it out to Bismarck. I mean, it takes like a week to get the results back.
But there is kind of a half-life to it where it's slowly breaking down anyway.
Not underground, but not underground. It has to be,
Sun?
it has to be out in the open.
Sunlight and oxygen will break it down.
Air.
Is it currently aerated in there? So like to move it
Not
around?
currently, no.
What is the cost for the automation system? The upfront capital cost?
I don't know if that was broken out. Let's see here. If you look at page 13, it provides a breakdown for option 1B and all the capital costs. There's an analyzer pump for $125,000. There's a small building that needs to be constructed, flow meter, force main, which would need to be done anyway on either option. So, 30, 40, $165,000 for automation.
And there's no recycle opportunity with this at all.
Nothing that's cost effective, I guess. So, I think large airports where they see such a high volume of de-icing fluid, they do recycle it. But at the end of the day, there's not that much de-icing fluid that's used here to make it worthwhile to recycle.
Yeah, we've never found it to be in a high enough concentration rate for it to be viable, and then it's an unreliable source too, depending on your winter. I know Missoula spent a significant amount of money to capture and try and recycle, but some years it works, some years it doesn't. And then to try and find a recycling plant, I think they send it down to Wyoming someplace and they try to recycle it, but just not enough volume. It's a lot of expense for very little return.
And so this system that we're talking about now is the one that's for the UPS and the newer aprons.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't incorporate anything onto the terminal apron itself.
And
that'll have to be a separate process when the apron is reconstructed.
And what's the process that we currently do now, or what's the plan for the commercial side?
Well, it would be to probably connect it to this system eventually.
Correct, yep.
Yep. Once we reconstruct the apron after the terminal expansion is done, then that underground tank that's out here right now north of the terminal will be connected to the cargo tank, and then all be a process up to the lagoons.
You just suck it out of that tank and haul it away right now?
For now, yeah. Any other questions? If not, we're good.
Any other?
No, nothing for me on that.
All right. You're up for the next one, too.
All right.
All right.
Are we voting on that one?
It was just to receive the report at this point.
Okay.
All right, move on to number 8, review proposed South GA aviation reconstruction.
Right, so we do have some tenants here. Kevin Breitbach, Keith McGovern are here representing Group 6 in the South General Aviation area. What Jeff is handing out, and if you want to give them a copy back there too, Jeff, I have some for reference. So in the South GA, we had met with the tenants 2-3 weeks ago to go through the impacts of this and had a discussion about what the optimal design or reconstruction process would be. And what Jeff is handing out is, I think, the consensus of those in the South GA to try and best operate it. So,
Yeah, so basically what MeadHunt is working on right now is a plan to reconstruct the South GA apron for 2 reasons. One is to just deal with the condition of the pavement because it's the worst on the airfield. And then secondly is to correct what the FAA calls as direct access from, if you see right now, in theory, someone can drive from the apron down Foxtrot right onto the runway without making a turn. There's no situational awareness from a pilot's perspective. And then they can do the same thing here on Gulf Taxiway. So what you see in this drawing right here, the dark gray hatch areas are pavement removal. And that'll accomplish 2 things. One is to take care of this direct access issue, so a pilot would have to turn before they enter Taxiway Gulf or Taxiway Foxtrot. And then secondly is just to reduce the size of the apron, just to make it more, to right size it, make it more cost effective, obviously, from a construction standpoint. So like Sean said, we met with the South GA tenants here maybe about a month back to get their feedback and made some tweaks to our initial layout, and based on comments that we had received, this seems to be the preferred concept given everyone's input. So this is what, unless we hear differently, I guess this is what we plan to move forward with. So,
Kevin or Keith, go ahead.
Well, the first comment I would make is it's not asphalt, it's concrete. So your removal is going to be more expensive. And then are you only going to remove, or are you replacing the concrete right up against the hangars where it would remain?
the intent would be like this north half of the apron. We're going to try to mill that asphalt off and then pave it back with asphalt. The exact dividing point has yet to be determined, but in a general sense, that's what we would do in this area. And then everything down here, for the most part, I mean, it's really not salvageable, so that would all have to be removed and reconstructed.
Okay. So the only asphalt's that triangle in the northwest corner.
Yeah, right here. So this is the only heavy-duty concrete that we have down here to handle, like the Eastern Plane that finally left yesterday. It is.
Yay!
58 days later.
Yep.
So because of the possibility of air show, or we get these diversions that come in, this heavy-duty concrete will remain, but it's just going to be milled off and then put asphalt back on top of the concrete that's there.
Okay, so actually the right side is concrete where it's lighter colored.
It
And
is.
the left side
Yes.
is asphalt.
It's asphalt on top of concrete. There's concrete underneath there. So many, many years ago, we put an asphalt overlay on top of the concrete because of the deterioration.
Okay.
So what we want to do is mill that asphalt off and put asphalt back on top of the concrete. And I think that's going to last for many, many years. So it actually is concrete out here, but there's just an asphalt overlay on top. And the areas where it shows removal with the dark on here, the dark parts, it's my idea to maintain those. It'll be filled in with asphalt, but there'll be blue taxiway lights around those for snow removal purposes. Because grass and dirt, it's just not going to work for us.
Right.
So you won't be able to taxi an aircraft on top of there, but
Maybe
for snow removal, for snow removal purposes and drainage, it'll probably be better. to put a light coat of asphalt. It won't be weight bearing obviously for an aircraft, but it would be for a pickup or maybe a loader or something like that.
Do you have a plan for how you're going to do the work close to the hangars so that we can still use our hangars?
We haven't got that far yet. So we have a rough phasing plan, and what our goal is to get a 30% plan set submitted by the end of the next week to the airport authority, and there'll be a general phasing plan in there. We full well will realize that there's going to be impacts to everyone, and need to sit down with everyone to come up with a plan that works.
There is going to be a period of
It's gonna
time
be a
where you won't
challenge.
have access to the hangar. It's just to get the concrete in place. I don't know any other way to do that.
Right. Well, will it be like an entire summer, or will you try to minimize it to 3 weeks or something?
That's what we need input on. Obviously there's an inherent amount of time that it just takes to construct something, but when we get up against the hangars, we always want to phase it so to minimize those time periods that you guys will be shut down. It just comes at a cost, because the more you break it up, the more expensive it gets.
So we'll need your input to be at those meetings to make sure that it's phased properly to minimize the amount. You said maybe 3 weeks. I hope it's less than that. Once from the removal to the replacement, I hope it's quicker than that, especially in front of the hangars. The other thing that we're dealing with, and Jeff can speak to this, is the eligibility of the concrete up to the hangars. It had been 25 feet from the threshold of the hangar door out 25 feet. None of that was eligible. The FAA changed that to 50 feet. So the width of the hangar and out 50 feet isn't eligible for any federal funds, and typically what happens at airports is the owner of the hangar pays for that concrete. That's the card that we're dealt with.
And that part of you're just going to grind it and then put asphalt over it?
Total reconstruction
Yeah.
of that. Yeah, right up to the hangar door.
And how thick are you planning?
Are we at 8 inches now, or is it more?
We haven't done the pavement design yet, but it'll be the 8 to 10 inch pavement range. So
More than
Well,
enough
yeah,
to
that-
handle your aircraft.
Yeah.
That's the design criteria, is the Challenger. So
And will it be pavement or concrete?
concrete.
Yeah.
Everything we do is concrete.
Concrete.
Everything is concrete. The only exception is the asphalt overlay for the heavy duty, and then these areas where concrete's going to be removed, then we fill it back in with asphalt just for drainage purposes, but it's not for aircraft use. Same thing that we did down here, south of now the Roars hangar. This was grass for years, and we piled snow and it'd be mud and everything else, so we paved that. But there's blue taxiway lights around it to keep aircraft out of it. And it just cleaned that whole area up, and we can pile snow there and so forth. The same will be true out there again. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I should note here, Kevin, on this exhibit, we don't intend to paint like a center line in front of your hangar door. We just showing that aircraft there to demonstrate that there's space. So
On the original proposal, you had from our hangar out to not only the pavement part, the normal aircraft movement was 200 feet. Now it's down to 190. So anyway, we can get that 10 feet back just for turn around, so a plane can turn around a little better.
we can make it 250 feet. It's just we're trying to balance the cost, I guess, is the thing. The way the 190 was set was based on the size of the aircraft are down there. There's a certain width that needs to be cleared, and that's basically the distance between the face of the hangars and then the nose of all these aircraft. That's the FAA standard. So
Yeah, and if we had 10 more feet to push those planes that are parked back, just for, if they need, if the military has a helicopter in front of their out, and we have a north wind, we have to start facing north, and we have to start up and then turn that plane around to get out to no name. And just that turning of the bigger jets with the planes parked, if we had that extra 10 feet.
okay.
And I think you can get that. The, yeah, the other part, if you notice on the drawing, it shows the tails, the whole aircraft on the concrete.
Correct.
But in reality, the tail's going to be out in the non-paved area, if you will. So you're going to gain a significant amount of footage there. to do it. But I mean, if it's 200 feet, I think that may be doable. We'll have to take a look at that, so. Good
That
feedback.
access there will help a lot.
Yes, yeah.
I would say if you can demonstrate an operational need, that you need so much room, you'll probably make that work.
And the storm sewer is going to be replaced as well. That's part of this project. That storm sewer is, I don't know, Jim, 40s vintage, 50s vintage. It's been there for, not really. Some of the pipes come in at different elevations. It's kind of a mess. So any other concerns or anything, but make sure we'll keep in contact with both of you and the other South GA tenants to make sure this is done right and minimize the disruption as much as possible. But there will be some pains with it as concrete's taken away from the hangar threshold, but it's to get it back in with quality and of course, as minimum amount of time as possible. Anything else on the South GA? If not, the North GA?
I don't think so.
You got some drawings on the North GA, and of course, this was kind of the preferred option that we looked at with Fargo Jet Center. That's here. Of course, they've got 2 hangars that are under construction right now. Probably won't be in use until sometime late next year. But Jim has advised that they will move forward with 2 more hangars up north of here. The design is underway right now and probably break ground on those next summer. So the need for more ramp and so forth north of the new buildings or hangars that they're making is going to be necessary. So.
Right. And I should note, on this exhibit, there's this big grass area. This is where the hangars are being constructed right today. I just didn't have the line work from Olaf Anderson. So that space is full.
And the other part of the project is the reconstruction of the North Perimeter Road, which is in dire need of reconstruction. That's up here. So that's what they're working on. I don't know if there's any questions. We'll continue to work with Jet Center in case something changes there, but his plan as of this week is 2 of these hangars would start construction next summer.
One other thing on the South GA, if I can go back to that for a second, on this direct access issue. So the FAA has priority ratings on how they dole out all their discretionary funding. And aprons rank really low, but they cost a lot of money. So what ends up happening is the airport has to bank all their entitlements to save for these type of projects, which you can spend on anything. That being said, with this direct access being a safety issue and basically an FAA requirement, I had reached out to the FAA to say, can you please consider this apron for any amount of discretionary money possible. So I don't think the airport will get it, but they're aware of the situation. So.
Just to show you another one, how recent it is. I don't know what year it changed, but Juliet Taxiway was constructed, goes right out to the end of the runway. That's going to have to be corrected as well in the new directive from the FAA.
There has to be a turn?
There has to be a turn. This all goes back to the accident that happened in Lexington, Kentucky, some years ago.
It's completely different, though. Those 2 runways intersected at the point. And that was very difficult, but this is a piece of cake. Sorry. From the operator's standpoint, it's nonsense. How many runway incursions have we had here, sir?
This year, we haven't had any. We have had a few that were similar to that, like Charlie 2, where aircraft will leave the Jet Center and just taxi straight out and miss Charlie. So it is one of our focal points. And then for the south route, not the big guys, but the little guys coming out of the Air Museum, there's a lot of difficulty of turning on Foxtrot, moving there on Golf, and all of a sudden on 3-1, taxing out 3-1, thinking they're heading to 3-6. So it's the FAA is pushing big, right? You said for the direct access, it's causing a lot of.
The original design for Charlie 5 that comes off the cargo apron was to intersect right with the end of here, but it had to be offset. So you come out of the cargo apron, you have to make these turns to get on there. So when Juliet's going to be corrected, I'm not sure, but I know it's on their safety list for us. So. All right, if there's no other questions.
Nothing else for Jeff?
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to number 9, received request from Midco for
request from Tony Geffrey for a new line that goes into the sheriff's office over in the South GA. This was in your packet. I think the easement was finished last night, so don't have any problems. So this is with Midco to serve the Cass County building. So need your approval. Can I get a motion?
Just receiving it, isn't it?
No, it's to approve the easement, yes.
Make a motion to approve the easement.
I second.
We have a motion second. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Lynn, Cosgrove, Capitan, Eklund,
Aye.
Engen.
Aye. Number 10, airport construction facility.
Let's see. Terry, you're online. Why don't you go first? Seen a lot of good progress at the Exit Plaza, so go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Can I share my screen, Darren?
Hold on.
Is Darren not there?
No, he's here. Hold on. He's looking.
Oh, you gotta go down bottom. Green.
Stand by. It's coming.
Down bottom. Green. And share screen. Or flip. Flip to the right. This is there. Yeah, there you go. Multiple. Yep. Just close that. And it should go up there.
Almost there, Terry. Hold on.
No problem.
It's a little bit closer on now, but it's got to be a share screen option somewhere on here.
Oh, come on.
Is it on there?
I don't see it.
Put them in the way.
And do you see that?
There we go.
Yes, there we
There
go.
we go.
Okay, great. Yeah, we've been making really good progress at the Exit Plaza. There's a shot where sheeting. They've actually been doing a lot of pavement. It's come along really well. I don't know if it's really fun when you drive out and you almost feel like you want to go there and it's not even done yet. The other thing is they've here's some pictures I would assume you can see of the pavement's almost complete except for some gas stub-ups, I guess, that they're waiting for that will be coming in at the end of the month. Our elusive base issue continues to be elusive. After the last meeting, I had Joe check on it. They said they're going to come out the very next week or day, I think, and do it, and they never showed up, and now we don't know where they are. So we're still waiting on that for the checkpoint area.
Okay.
Any questions?
Looks good, Terry.
Looks good, Terry. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it's really come along.
All right. Jeff?
All right. Pretty quick today. Yesterday, Border States finished all the asphalt paving on the East Economy lot, so the rest of this week is pretty much doing the concrete mold strip for the guardrail around the perimeter of the lot, and then Strata will be out there doing fiber and power installation for the kiosks and all the street lighting. So, and that's just some fine grading and probably do some dormant seating and everything. So it's
Are
really
the-
shaping up.
Are the light poles here or not yet?
There's, I think there's one or two that are still in need of delivery, but most of them are here, from what I understand.
And so it will be functional, even with missing a few.
Correct, yes. Yeah. That is my understanding from the
And then
sketch.
Flash parking will be on site soon.
We had at last week's meeting, excuse me, they had asked that we provide pictures of all the coiled up power and fiber once it has been installed, and then once they get those in, they'll schedule it. So that needs to be done. I think she had said that within a couple weeks of receiving those, they can get everything scheduled. So.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Sean?
Yeah, I got just some miscellaneous things. So September was an all-time record for the month of September since 1931, so traffic came back a little bit, and we would probably exceeded that record by a lot more if we had more frequencies. The pilot shortage is still killing us with frequencies that American and Allegiant and others want to operate. Our DOT grant that was awarded to us here a few years ago is up for a renewal or an extension request. This was for service to Seattle. We partnered with the Convention Bureau and the Greater Fargo-Moorhead EDC on that grant. It's about $825,000, $500,000 federal, and the rest is local funds between the Airport Authority, the CVB, and the EDC. We're going to request another extension and also may consider a change in the scope of the grant from Seattle to maybe a hub in the southeast part of the U.S., like Atlanta or Charlotte. The other option is just to request the extension from the DOT and leave it as is to Seattle, and then put in for another grant for service to a southeast hub such as Atlanta or Charlotte here in the next go-around. So more to follow on that as we engage the DOT and some of the carriers that may have an interest in that. The elevator is going to be out of service for an extended period of time. Otis has ordered the hydraulic cylinder, I believe, Dan. So it has a major failure. So the main cylinder that operates the carriage, which was installed in the terminal back, I suppose, in 1985, that failed. So it's a special order cylinder, just due to the size of it and the length of it and so forth. It's not a you can buy off the shelf type deal. So Otis is handling that, but I'm expecting it's going to be at least another couple months before that is. And the alternative right now is using the freight elevator, working with the restaurant to get people over to the freight elevator on the east end of the facility. Another issue we reported was a leak in the basement when it was determined it was the main that comes off into the terminal. So BDT and Randall's did the excavation. So it's right underneath the down escalator. So if you go down on the first floor and go underneath the down escalator, they cut out all the concrete and sucked out all the sand to get down and expose the pipe. They replaced a portion of the pipe and the flange, and they're doing some pressure testing right now to make sure that it's going to hold, and along with looking at the fire suppression line that comes into the building as well to make sure that wasn't the source of the leak. So we'll know more on that later, but Randall's will start the backfill of that. They started the backfill of it yesterday, correct, Dan?
It's all backfilled. They're actually going to work on the concrete today.
Okay, all right. So if you want to take a peek at that, go ahead and take a
With
look.
this issue, and I think, Jeff, we had discussed it, then any expansion will have a secondary line or dual feeds going forward?
We hope so. Yeah, we believe so. So we have a second source. The next board meeting, Mead & Hunt's going to present the final terminal area study. Darren and I did a page-by-page review of the draft that they have for the final study. There's a couple of tweaks that they're going to do on that. And then also Stacy has reviewed the initial contract for Mead & Hunt for the design of the terminal expansion project. That's going to be a large contract, I don't know, $6-8 million, I'm not quite sure what that's going to be. So she's provided some comments back on their contract that Mead & Hunt legal counsel is looking at, and we'll maybe have that for you at the next meeting. So that's all that I have right now.
Anything else from the board?
One question regarding the elevator. When we do the expansion and relocate the elevator, are we going to get a whole new elevator? Are we going to utilize are we going to just move it?
That elevator will stay there. That's not going to move. The carriage was new as part of the 2008 expansion, so the carriage was new. It's just the cylinders below were original. So those are being replaced. So I think we're going to be pretty good shape on the carriage and the elevator. Okay. We will add an elevator on the west end for the customs FIS that we're going to be putting in.
Okay.
And then we may look at updating the freight elevator to something larger. There will also be elevator or two added on the departure lounge side. So once you get through security, there'll be an elevator or two. Is it one or two, Darren? Do you remember? Not sure yet.
I don't know.
There's going to be elevators once you
Okay.
get past from there. So right now it's not real convenient if you're a handicapped passenger or a physically challenged passenger. They have to escort you around, to get you into the departure lounge, up and down. So having the elevator in the departure lounge will certainly help that once the expansion is done.
Anything else? Nothing? Meeting adjourned.